Hey, welcome and welcome back to the Stash. Ladies and gentlemen, it is that time of the month again when we have a new release of the worst Spider-Man series ever created. We are continuing the horrible Goblin Spider arc, which in all honesty has managed to somehow push this series even further down than it already was. I know it's like a running gag of how many times can you say it gets worse, but my god, I don't know how Zeb managed to do it, but it gets worse. Remember when Spider-Man comics used to have proper storytelling? Remember when Peter Parker actually had his own stories and we could build up the people around him and his life? Remember when it wasn't just brainless action and a cartoonified version of the web slinger?
What's the point?
But it just seems like all we have now in ASM is just this stupid parody of what once was a great comic series, and unfortunately it continues with the latest installment. So join us today as we go over The Amazing Spider-Man issue 51. But before we get into that, I just wanted to quickly let everyone know we are trying to reach 2,000 subscribers before the end of June, and with your help, I know we can do it. So if you're new around here and like Spidey or just comic content in general, feel free to stick around and maybe hit that subscribe button. Also, we do have a channel membership down below for a small price with a bunch of cool little perks, but anyway, back to the video. So in case you've missed the previous videos, lucky for you there is a playlist, I'll go over a quick recap. The sins of Norman Osborn have returned to their rightful host, unleashing the Green Goblin on the world once more. Now, Peter had been planning for this the whole time and managed to corner Norman in his lab, where Spider-Man was able to eventually even the playing field to get the upper hand, but unfortunately for him, the Green Goblin had one last trick up his sleeve. When Peter had taken the sins of Norman Osborn into himself months ago, his twisted persona preserved itself via the Winkler device. This brainwashed Peter to switch back to it when a code phrase is said, and Green Goblin activated the phrase and brought Spider-Goblin to the forefront of Peter's psyche. The only one who knows what happened to Peter Parker is the Living Brain, who has been trying to get a warning out to Peter from the Oscorp sub-basement, and now while it may be too late to prevent the Spider-Goblin from manifesting, it can still save Peter Parker. But to do so, the Living Brain had to transform itself into the mobile, walking brain. Now our story begins with this nightmare that's been pestering everyone's favourite clone, Ben Reilly. I guess through him being the clone of Peter Parker and both falling victims to the Winkler device, they sort of have this now bond together, and he's able to feel that sudden shift within Peter's mind. It's nice to see Ben again, and a part of me just really misses that small period in the 90s when Spider-Man returned to New York, MJ was still pregnant, and Ben Reilly was going to be the Uncle Ben to Pete and MJ's kid. It's crazy how long ago that truly was, and it's just crazy to think how different things could have turned out.
Why are you the way that you are? Honestly, every time I try to do something fun or exciting, you make it not that way.
We cut scenes to see the Sinister Six plan their revenge on the Living Brain. It sort of sucks that once again all of these foes are just falling victim to Zeb Wells' one-dimensional writing. Otto suffers from it the most. I understand how he has this massive ego, but here it's exaggerated to the point of it feeling like a bad cartoon. Over the years, he's had this really annoying and downright criminal cycle of going through some incredible character development, all for it to just be ignored whenever the next writer comes in. Even Dan Slott, who did a pretty decent send-off when Pete regained control over his own, body, undid everything he worked towards for reasons, I guess?
Not a great plan.
The Sinister Six are treated to a phone call by Norman Osborn, who really should have stayed dead after the death of Gwen Stacy. Otto informs him they'll be paying him a visit soon, however there's someone who might have something to say about— oh my god, what is that?
What the hell is even that?
It's so ugly. Not even the fun kind, this is just straight up shit. Did anyone actually think this was a good idea? And speaking of who thought that was a good idea, Peter, under the influence of the Green Goblin, absolutely wipes the floor with the Sinister Six. He disables Ock's tentacles and knocks him out with one punch, embarrassed the Vulture by handcuffing him mid-air, letting him crash into a wall, amps up Electro's own powers to be used against him, and Sandman brutalized Mysterio after his illusions proved ineffective through Spider-Man simply knowing the Avengers roster, and we can all guess what would have happened to Kraven if not for the cliffhanger. Now, what really bothers me about this entire sequence is just Zeb Wells is demonstrating once again that he believes Spider-Man is only able to competently fight whenever he's completely lost it and turned evil. And the thing is, he could have just easily have made it so when he's not feeling like a friendly neighborhood Spider-Man, he fights more savagely and really lets go. That would have made much more sense. But to have it so he only ever fights intelligently when he's corrupt says a lot about how Zeb actually writes Spider-Man.
Oh, brother, this guy stinks!
This is someone who doesn't just rely on his cool powers and sheer strength. Lord knows Zeb Wells took that away from him too. He has a brain and supposed to be able to use it to help benefit him and give him the extra edge in the battle. I remember stories when Spider-Man could get out of any situation if he just gave himself a little bit of time to breathe and think. I've always done you the courtesy of fighting fair. Seriously, Wells' Spider-Man has the nerve to say that to the Vulture after the beating he gave him, where he literally had to beg for his life to the Green Goblin for him to save him from the Featherhead pensioner's wrath.
It'd be funny if it weren't so pathetic. No, what the heck, I'll laugh anyway.
This is incredibly embarrassing from Zeb and Nick Lowe. I know I've made it clear, but I have zero, and I mean zero, respect for either one. As a continuation of this 60-plus year story and of the person before it, Nick Spencer's volume, there's simply nothing of this story relating to Spencer's time on the book. It fails at a lot of things, but one of the major things it does wrong is just it not being able to feel like it relates to anything that came before it. And Spider-Man here is just treated as a one-note pathetic joke. He's supposed to be the face of Marvel, yet for over a decade, save for one good small period, he's been nothing but a punching bag for writers and villains alike. And now, before I continue my overall thoughts of this book, I'll quickly finish the rest of the story. Just like the 25 issues ago, Kamala Khan is once again shoehorned into this book. She calls Norman over the phone and tests him by calling him Mr. O. She created a whole fake scenario that never happened and Norman fell for the bait. How convenient that Kamala called right now at this very specific moment for whatever reason after not appearing in the book for more than a year since she was last thrown into the story. Especially when she randomly feels the need to verbally trick Norman Osborn, which just so happens to allow her to conveniently discover he's back as the Green Goblin.
Well, that's just lazy writing.
But we must remember that Marvel just loves to shove Kamala into anything that is popular because quite literally nobody likes her save a select few, and her books always just get cancelled due to no one buying them. But she must be pushed at all costs for some insane reason. She doesn't actually fit in this story here at all. And to finally end this painful story with the cliffhanger I mentioned earlier, Chasm stops Pete right before he was about to make a volcano eruption out of Kraven's head and is ready to take on the Spider Goblin. Oh, and also the Living Brain recruits J. Jonah Jameson to join his team, consisting of him, Connors, and an Oscorp employee to save Spider-Man. Like anyone actually even cares. I will admit I didn't expect to see Ben almost acting like Ben Reilly, although I can't tell if that Chasm is here to help. Probably. I haven't made up my mind line is actually from Ben, or if it's the intrusive thoughts of Zeb Wells who is just straight up improvising this entire story on the go and has no idea if he's going to screw Ben or not. You never know with this comic. But can we please, please salvage Ben's character, at least give us something to be happy about. Give his memory back, allow his mind to be clear, lose that costume and everything associated with Chasm, and just get him back to being the Scarlet Spider or just whatever, give him a clean slate. Overall, everything from the whole, Peter only fights good when he's bad, the Sinister Six attacking him one at a time like it's the 60s again, and for Kamala to get shoehorned once again to conveniently call Norman even though if she did so a couple days earlier, she wouldn't even have suspected a thing, just shows how bad Zeb Wells is at his job, and it's just incredible how amateurish the writing is here.
It's time to go!
Meanwhile, issue 5 of Ultimate Spider-Man has barely any action and is primarily world building and was out on the 29th of May and still sold more copies than both issues of The Amazing Spider-Man in the month of May. Well and Low should just be embarrassed beyond belief. But it's unfortunate they don't have any shame, because if you were to send in a letter and you were lucky enough for it to be, shown in the latest issue of Spider-Man, and you were critiquing the entirety of the run or even just the previous issues, Nick Lowe would just tell you how you're reading the book wrong, how you're wrong, and how they're all right and the book's actually really good. Because, the readers in this case don't matter at all, and that's the sad part of this entire series. All I'm really hoping for is that Zeb Wells leaves after issue 60, because I really can't take any more of this sort of writing. It's just unbelievably bad, and I actually need to reread some of my favorite Spider-Man stories just so I can remember why I actually liked this character in the first place, because here, he's just a complete shadow of his former self. There's nothing about Zeb Wells' Spider-Man that just resembles anything of the past. But I really can't wait till we get a new writer in. I hope they're more competent than whatever we got now. And I'm just so sad for how Nick Spencer, who was our last competent writer, had to go out with all of his hard work of trying to fix everything just got undone as soon as the volume restarted. But, until that day, we're just going to be stuck in Mephisto's realm. But that is it for today. Thank you guys so much for watching. If you have enjoyed, please like, comment, and subscribe if you haven't already, because here, any support means so much. I'd love to hear what you thought of this issue down below in the comment section. We can start a conversation. Be sure to tune in next time, same web time, same web channel. Thank you guys again for watching, and see you in the next one.